Chapter 2, The Process of Death. What you are calling us as a life right now is like soap bubbles being blown. The entire yogic process or the entire spiritual process is to wear this bubble thin so that one day when it bursts, there is absolutely nothing left and it moves from the bondage of existence to the freedom of non existence or nirvana. What makes us tick? If you want to understand fundamentally how life and death work, you need to understand how creation works and the role played by the various memories that are present in creation. When I say memory, it is not only what you remember, memory runs much deeper in its many layers. According to the yogic system, memory is basically an accumulation of impressions. Further, there are fundamentally 8 types of these memories in creation. The most fundamental of these memories is elemental memory. According to the yogic system, the first step from the unmanifest to manifest is the formation of panchabhutas or the 5 elements. These elements are Prithvi or earth, Jal or water, Agni or fire, Vayu or air, and Akash means ether. The names represent a particular quality and not the substance itself. These fundamental elements have different characteristics and are manifest in all aspects of creation and are the most fundamental basis of all creation. Of these, elemental memory is the memory that decides how these 5 elements interact and play out in life. The next layer of creation is the material substance that the universe is made of. The rule of how The rules of how they play out are contained in what we call atomic memory. Today, every child is taught atomic theory in school. The word atom comes from the Greek word atomos, meaning indivisible. And when modern science discovered the atom, it was believed that atoms were indivisible and the most fundamental building blocks of the universe. Today, of course, we know that it is not so. Over 2 dozen subatomic particles have been since discovered and more are possible. Atomic memory relates to how subatomic particles, atoms, and in turns molecules of various physical substances are made and how they behave. Elemental memory and atomic memory together constitute what can be called inanimate memory. This memory governs the inanimate aspect of life. The other type of memory relate to animate life and can be called animate memory. Of these, the most fundamental layer of memory is evolutionary memory, which relates to how the evolution of life has taken place. This is instrumental in you having 2 eyes, 2 hands, taking the shapes of the human form and not on any other creature, and so on. Upon this layer is genetic memory, which comes from the genetic material passed on by your parents that makes you the unique human being that you are among all the other humans. This memory decides the color of your skin, the shape of your nose, and other such things. The next layer of memory is called karmic memory, which is an accumulation of all the impressions that you have gathered, not just since birth, but all through your previous lives and the process of evolution. This will play out in your life in so many ways beyond one's understanding. The next 3 layers of memory are impressions or accumulations related to your mind or the mental body. There is a large body of memory that you are completely unconscious about, which we call unconscious memory. Then there is another body of memory that is just beneath the conscious memory that we call subconscious memory. And finally, there is conscious memory itself, which you can recollect and articulate. All these 8 types of memory will play out in your day to day life according to the impression accumulated and the situations you are faced with. Broadly speaking, these, these are the layers of memories that make you the life you are. Now, there are many ways to look at the essential nature of life. One of them is that there are two seeds that make our lives. One is the seed planted by our parents, which gave us a body, and the other is the seed planted by the Creator, which gave us the life within. These are two different types of seeds, or in other words, two different dimensions of nature. The first is programmed or for certainty, while the second is programmed for possibility. The body is physical, and there is a sense of certainty of its existence. The life that you are beyond the physical is debate for most people. Most are uncertain of the nature of their existence. The seed of physicality that was transmitted by our parents has a certain set of rules, traits, and compulsions of its own. The aspect of nature only to tries to survive. The survival process includes procreation. It always tries to avoid everything that threatens its survival. Now our parents gave us just a seed that became the body. But what source of creation gave us what was not a seed in that sense? It gave itself. This is the reason that all the possibility that the source of creation holds are kind of encapsulated in us. Whether the possibility is realized in an individual life or not is questionable, but the possibility is always there. With these two seeds, when a human being is born, a certain software is set within. This software is combination of time, energy, and the information that he or she carries with them from previous lives. These three together will determine various aspects of one's life depending upon the information that is carried. Energy is allocated for different aspects of life, which we will look at in a bit. In India, this information that is carried forth is referred to as karma. Of the entire memory or the entire lot of karma that one has, evolutionary memory is only significant for the structure of who one is. Let us leave it aside. But if all the genetic memory and the karmic unconscious and subconscious memory that you have flowed into your conscious memory right now, you cannot deal with it. It will become too overwhelming. So, out of this entire load, nature has a way of appropriating a person for you to handle or aware of in this birth in the form of different kinds of activity. Traditionally, in Indian culture, the whole stock of karmic memory or person has is called Sanchita Karma. You can say it's Sanchit Karma is the entire warehouse of karma that a person carries. Out of this stock, a certain person is allocated to be handled in a particular lifetime. This is known as Prarabdha Karma or the karma that is allocated for the lifetime, which has some extra urgency to it and expresses a little more compulsion than the rest of the heap. This is nature's way of handling something that is extremely complex in simple, intermediate steps. So at birth, Prarabdha karma creates an orientation and Sanchita karma creates an unconscious tendency towards various things. However, how much karma you perform daily and with how much awareness either releases you from your Prarabdha karma and Sanchita karma or it enhances the same. In a nutshell, these factors are what determine how and for how long a person will alive. In the natural course of life, even if one lives simply in unawareness, Prarabdha karma will somehow get worked out. With a little suffering here and a little well being there, a little pain here and little pleasure there. one will work out one's prarabdha karma. They just need to learn how not to create new karma in this life. That is all. So the next time when another set of prarabdha karma is allocated, that also will get worked out. And this will repeat lifetime after lifetime. Now, prarabdha karma does not per se determine the outside situation, but it definitely arranges many things on the outside because your inner arrangement are always finding expression in the external situation. So in India, whenever one saw someone suffering, they would say, Ayo Prarabdha. It means to be a common refrain because the suffering is mostly coming from within. In most cases, suffering is a consequences of how one carries their memories and not necessarily the content. Hence, the need to fix the context of one's life through spiritual process and not so much content. If you want to see how different people come with different karmic baggages, you should observe infants. How much of hand and leg movement one child does is very different from how much another child of the same age does. This is not because of the differences in parents. In fact, how much one baby kicks around in mother's belly is very different from how much another baby of the same mother kicks around. Usually, it has very little to do with the parents. In fact, if you observe, a lot of lethargic parents suffer superactive children. This is not because of the attitude and psychological limitations of the children either that develops afterward. This is because each being comes within a certain level of energy allocated to the activity at birth itself. Now, even within the allocation of energy to each person at birth, it is further divided into various aspects. Let us say, according to your karmic structure, you came with 1,000 units of energy when you were born. Of these, 250 units may be allocated for physical activity, and within that, hundreds units for involuntary activity, and 150 units for external voluntary activity. Out of the rest, 300 units can be for mental activity, and another 200 for emotional activity, and so on. This allocation will depend on what kind of software you have. This is why you will see each individual has a certain level of energy for different aspect of life. In children who have not yet been through much influence, this is very distinctly visible. You can see it in adults also, but in adults, this could also be ascribed to many influences in one's life. Now, the way the allocated energies are expanded within you has serious implications on your life and death. In today's world, because of the impact of technology, the energy allocated to physical activity is mostly unused in people. If you were born on this planet 200 years ago, the level of physical activity that you would be performing naturally to fulfill your day to day requirements would be at least 20 times higher than what it is right now. In the tribal village near Isa Yoga Center, no one has any sleep disorder. They put in so much physical activity that by the time they will go to bed, they are ready to die. If they just put their head down on the pillow, they will fall asleep. If you happen to travel on Indian roads, it is common to see laborers traveling on top of the loaded trucks. They would have loaded some stones or bricks or some other material into the vehicle, and they would also be traveling in it to unload at the destination. Usually, you will see them fast asleep, lying on the bricks or stones or some other coarse material in the moving truck, even under the hot sun. This is because the level of their physical activity is such that they have used up all their allotted energy. Now, if you initiate them into meditation, they will easily meditate. You will see that it is the educated people who cannot sleep or meditate or sit in one place because they are not using up their allotted physical energy. When they don't use it, They cannot sit in one place. Right now, you see a huge upsurge in activities like trekking, cycling, running, etc. This is not only for fitness. Must realize that by just being in a demanding activity, they sleep, think, and act better. Their enthusiasm and energy for relationships and work for enhanced. In a way, in their consciousness, they have managed to put their concerns about the body aside. This is why, once you are on the spiritual path, we want you to adjust your energy allocated for physical activity very fast. Let us say you have 500 units of energy allocated to your physical activity. We want to finish it off in 10 years so that after that, if you sit, the body will simply sit. It has no need to move without any physical urge to move. It will simply settle down. Most people cannot meditate without sufficient physical activity. So, when we allocate work to people at the Isha Yoga Center, we do it with a lot of care. Some people work 4 hours a day, some 6 hours a day, some 10 hours a day, some 15 hours a day, while there are some who works 18 to 20 hours a day. The idea is to expand their physical energy. However, if you are full time on a spiritual path, if you are a brahmachari, you not only want you to empty your prarabdha karma, we want you to expand the sanchita karma or the entire stock too. The idea of being on a spiritual path is to put life on fast forward. We don't want you to take 10 lifetimes to handle this warehouse of memory. We want you to finish it now. So we try to open up other dimensions of memory in you. The reasons why so much discipline was always brought into yogic practices is that even when things that would otherwise overwhelm you come up, you should be able to handle them. If you upon of things for which one is not ready, karma can just smoother you completely. Once you are full time on a spiritual path, we give a sadhana to handle this. Now you are willing to walk into trouble. You are not dodging trouble anymore. People want to avoid whatever is unpleasant in their life because they cannot handle it. Only once we know you can handle your prarabdha karma well, then we can open up entire warehouse of memory. This is also the reason why when a person walks the spiritual path, if they don't handle the situation properly, they will suffer much more than other people, while others handle only what is allotted with them. This person tries to take up the whole stock. Some people who are at the yoga center have gone through these phases. When they come, we gave them lots of activity. They went through it for a certain period and then slumped. They could not do anything for some time. They thought they were physically sick. They went to various doctors, though I told them don't go to any doctor, just relax for some time. Something else will happen. After some time, once again they are swept away by activity because we open up another room in the warehouse for them. What they should have done in their next life, they do it now. Actually, there are many more aspects to this. I am putting it in an overly simplistic manner. The main aim is that we want them to finish it all now. This is also the reason why many spiritual systems in the East always had grammar and mathematics attached to them. Yogic want to develop their body and their mind because if they are born again, they don't want to be born with the small amounts of prarabdha karma and go on for many lifetimes. They don't want to postpone it. They want to fast forward everything. They want to enhance their mental capabilities so that this time around, even if they were not able to end it because they left with a very great physical and mental capabilities, when they come next time, they will get a better software. They will get more prarabdha karma. So along with the spiritual process, people took a grammar, music, astronomy and mathematics. because they want to use their intelligence in every way. Now, along, along with the memory and energy, there is a third dimension, time, that determines the duration and nature of one's life and death. Both life and death happen within the ambit of time. Time ticks away all the time. You can neither slow it down nor hasten it. You can converse your energy, you can throw it around, you can develop it, you can make it phenomenally big or insipid, but time, it just keeps slipping away. It has its own intelligence and it flows according to certain parameter of karmic information and the energy allotment that is available in one's system. So, can we not do anything about it? We can, but that is a much more elusive dimension of life than the other two. The other two are much easier to manage and manifest in one's life, generating energy and using it the way you want, not allowing your tendency to determine the nature of your thought, emotion, and activity is far easier than taking charges of time. Even Adiyogi took charge of time only when he was in certain states. When he was in states where he took charge of time, we refer to him as a Kala Bhairava, one who has mastery over one's information or mastery over tendencies caused by the information, has mastery over the qualities of one's life. He or she can determine whether the self becomes pleasant or unpleasant. One who has mastery over one's energy will determine the nature of one's activity, how one lives. They live absolute mastery over their life, but not over their death. But one who has mastery over time will determine the nature of one's life and death. They can determine whether they want to live or die. This is how the three dimensions that constitute your life are connected to your death.